In Nicaragua, municipal elections to renew all mayors, vice mayors, and councilors continue. President Daniel Ortega and Vice President Rosario Murillo exercise their right to vote. Egypt hosts from Sunday the COP27 Summit to renew commitment against climate change and review compliance with the targets set in Glasgow. And in Italy, authorities prevented the landings in Sicily of a number of migrants they did not consider vulnerable. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with news. In Nicaragua, municipal elections to renew all mayors, vice mayors, and councilors continues. President Daniel Ortega and Vice President Rosario Murillo exercise their right to vote. According to local media reports, this Sunday there were long lines at more than 3,000 voting centers throughout the national territory, even before they opened at 7 a.m. local time. More than 3,700,000 Nicaraguans are summoned for this day, who must elect 153 mayors and deputy mayors, as well as 5,770 councillors of the municipalities of the country. The citizens who go to the polls highlighted the good development of the elections and the importance of this process as a step to continue the transformation agenda the country is in the process of undergoing.
I hope that the municipal elections will be held in peace, because Nicaragua needs more peace, more love, more reconciliation, and I believe that this will lead us to move forward every day. It is good to have the opportunity to elect the authorities that we are going to have during the next 5 years. And we hope and trust in them. That is why we are casting out vote to continue the agenda of the transformation process that our country is undergoing for its welfare.
Of course I did. I went to exercise my right to vote. It was a very fast process. The staff are taking good care of us, and it is progressing rapidly, and it is a process that is going in excellence.
The magistrate of the Supreme Electoral Council of Nicaragua, Humberto Campbell, assured that Sunday's election is taking place normally, while emphasizing that it constitutes an opportunity to strengthen the country's democracy.
Throughout the country, all the centers, the polling stations are open. Everything is working normally as we expect. That will be open from 7 in the morning until 6 in the afternoon. Of course, if there are lines, the polling stations will remain open until the last Nicaraguan who wishes to exercise his or her vote does it. It is an opportunity to strengthen our democracy, to consolidate our peace, to advance in this free, sovereign, and independent Nicaragua.
The President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, called for the institutionalization of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States to take advantage of the favorable conditions that the region is experiencing. In statements to the press, the Argentinian president highlighted the importance of the 7th Summit of Heads of State of CELAC, scheduled for January 20 to the 23rd, and urged the definition of a regulatory framework that will allow the organization to function better. Fernandez also emphasized that all steps taken should be based on unity, with respect for plurality and diversity. He also recalled that his country's pro-temporary presidency of CELAC will end in 2023, and considered that with Mexico and Brazil as allies, there is an opportunity to give a solid impulse to the international mechanism. In Argentina, more than 100 leaders of parliaments and social movements from 14 countries held UNASUR's constitutive meeting. Since Saturday, November 5th, the Plurinational Assembly to constitute UNASUR under the guidelines of defense of life, cultural identity, sovereignty, anti-colonialism, and anti-imperialism takes place. These proposals has the objective of a plurinational integration among the indigenous peoples, Afro-descendants, as well as social, trade union, and territorial organizations and social movements of the region. This Sunday, the conclusions of each commission and declaration on the situation in Latin America and the Caribbean were read out. The next event will be a closing plenary in which the signing and proclamation of the document that will constitute the regional integration of a plurinational America will take place.
Our integration must be plurinational and led by our peoples. Regional integration is fundamental to achieve a horizon of social and historical justice. But we must also understand that in the face of the present crisis, it will serve as a shield to build and preserve peace and the good life of our peoples. Such an integration will be based on the recognition of plurinationalities, diverse regional identities that make sense of Adiayala. Plurinationality does not admit euphemisms. It calls for a political construction radically different from multiculturality and other concepts.
In the United States, at least 9 people were wounded during a shooting in Philadelphia. According to the police, the incident took place on Saturday night when several shooters got out of a vehicle in the Kensington area of Pennsylvania and began shooting indiscriminately. The target of the shooters, who returned to the vehicle and drove away, remains unknown and under police investigation. Meanwhile, the wounded are in hospitals receiving medical attention. 7 of them are stable and 2 are in critical condition. We'll take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account of teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Egypt hosts from this Sunday the COP27 Climate Summit to renew the global commitment on the matter and review the fulfillment of the goals set in Glasgow. Welcoming over 40,000 participants to the conference, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who hosts the event, urged the international community to adopt concrete measures to address climate change, which he considers an existential problem for mankind. In this respect, he recalled that the world is at a very sensitive moment and is exposed to unprecedented existential dangers and challenges affecting the survival of the planet and thus the ability of all humanity to live. Therefore, he stressed the need for the meeting to move from the stage of promises to implementation with concrete measures on the ground. As part of the schedule, the high-level meeting will be held on Monday, November 7th and Tuesday, November 8th, with the participation of over 100 heads of states and government.
This COP is going to be very much focused.
Egyptian Foreign Minister and President of COP27 laments that rich nations have not fulfilled a pledge to deliver $100 billion per year to help developing countries green their economies.
Secondly, the current state of mobilization efforts and climate financing raises many concerns, as the pledge to deliver $100 billion per year has not been yet implemented. Moreover, most of the available funding tends to reduce emissions at the expense of adaptation efforts. In addition, most of the available funding is based on loans. I think you all agree with me that we do not have the luxury to continue this way. We must change our approaches to this existential threat. We should earnestly and sincerely seek to listen, learn and understand the concerns of other parties.
The head of the World Meteorological Organization, Peter Itala, says that this COP27 is going to focus on the adaptation of measures to deter this deterioration.
I summarize which were the top 5 most dramatic impact events this year. We still have this drought which is going on in Horn of Africa, which is hitting Somalia, Ethiopia and Kenya. We had floods in Pakistan, which all of you know, heat wave, drought and wildfires, both in Europe and China. And then there was a strong hurricane Ian hitting USA and Cuba.
Italian authorities on Sunday prevented the landings in Sicily of a number of migrants they did not consider vulnerable. The far-right Italian government has adopted a tough strategy against rescue boats operating in Italian waters. Interior Minister Matteo Piantedosi said earlier that those who do not meet the requirements will have to leave the territorial waters. after rejecting safe harbor requests submitted by 4 charity vessels. The Humanity One, carrying 179 rescued passengers, was granted access to the Sicilian port, but 3 other rescue vessels, run by non-governmental organizations and carrying 900 people in total, remained at sea. NGOs said people were sleeping on floors and decks, spreading infections with fever and scabies, and running out of food and medical supplies. Some migrants have been on the boats for more than 2 weeks. A member of migrant rescue group SOS Mediterranean warned of deteriorating conditions aboard a rescue ship that responds to migrants in distress in the Mediterranean.
Agitation is evident among survivors that have been on board for 16 days now, and our teams are working around the clock to support these people that are suffering more and more from this extreme situation. All of the patients need proper medical and psychological assessment and care, and there's a high risk of deterioration as the medical team can only provide for basic health care.
In Russia, an attack by Ukrainian forces on the Kherson province has affected the public grid in at least 10 settlements. Emergency services teams are already at work to repair the damage caused by the terrorist attack on the Berislav-Kakovka highway, which affected 3 reinforced concrete towers of high-voltage power lines, leaving more than 10 settlements in the region without electricity. The region's administration reported that the water supply was also temporarily disrupted. Meanwhile, authorities have asked local residents to be understanding and remain calm while work is underway to get back to normal. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said Sunday that recent actions undertaken by Russian forces had destroyed U.S., British and Polish mercenaries.
Near the settlement of Liman of the Donetsk People's Republic as a result of a high-precision strike by the Russian airspace forces. Up to 100 militants of national formations and foreign mercenaries were killed, including about 40 mercenaries from the United States, Great Britain and Poland, as well as 10 armored combat vehicles, 120 missiles of the American HIMARS multiple rocket launcher, 250 missiles of the Smerch multiple rocket launcher, and 2 transport loading vehicles were destroyed near the settlement of Krasnoyarmayesk Popsrok in Ukraine of the Donetsk People's Republic.
More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Somalia, at least 15 people were killed in a suicide attack occurred this Saturday in the capital Mogadishu. According to local media, the attack was perpetrated by a member of the jihadist movement Al-Shabaab, who targeted a training center located in a former candy factory south of the capital. Among the dead were army recruits. Dozens of people were injured and they are already receiving medical attention. This attack comes a week after a series of explosions near the Somali Education Ministry, which left at least 100 people dead and more than 300 injured. Uganda's health authorities announced the extension of the containment of the country's Ebola outbreak. The Minister of Health, Jane Ruth Axen, announced that in order to prevent further spread of the disease within the district of Mubende and Kasanda and to protect the rest of the country, the measure has been extended for an additional 21 days. According to the latest official data, the number of confirmed cases of Ebola in the country stands at 132, while more than 53 deaths have been reported. The measure includes a traffic ban inside Mubende and Kasanda and a curfew from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time, as well as the closure of places of worship and entertainment. In Tanzania, at least 19 people lost their lives after a plane of the Tanzanian company Precision Air crashed in Lake Victoria. According to the authorities, the incident occurred when the plane was approaching the airport of the city of Bukoba, located in the north of the country. At the moment, 26 people of the 43 people on board the plane were rescued. The fire department is carrying out a rescue operation in cooperation with the fishermen in order to find the remaining people. According to Angola's Foreign Minister Tete Antonio, the foreign ministers of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda agreed to accelerate efforts to de-escalate tensions and resolve their political crisis.
The tripartite ministerial meeting, preceded by the joint meeting of external intelligence and military security services, had the main objective of strengthening the dialogue between the authorities of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Rwanda, as well as resuming the process of implementing the Luanda Roadmap of July the 6th, 2022. At the end of their discussions, the ministers agreed on the following aspect: the maintenance of the dialogue and political consultation mechanism between the authorities of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Rwanda as a way of resolving the political crisis between the two countries.
Former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan left hospital on Sunday, 3 days after being shot in the legs in a failed assassination attempt. The shooting and Khan's accusation that his successor, Shehbaz Sharif, was involved have significantly raised the political temperature in a country that has been on the boil since he was ousted in April. Former Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry said Khan had been discharged, and local TV channels showed him wearing a blue hospital gown as he left the Lahore clinic by wheelchair. The former Prime Minister was wounded by gunfire aimed at his open-top container truck as he led a political party convoy through thick crowds in the eastern city of Wazirabad on Thursday. One man is in custody following the attack, which government officials have said was the work of a lone gunman and a very clear case of religious extremism. Chinese Ministry of Commerce condemned Canada for banning Chinese capital from free lithium mining companies and other critical metal sectors. Authorities of the Chinese Ministry of Commerce denounced Canada for disrupting and blocking normal bilateral cooperation. The government of Ottawa ordered Chinese companies to abandon their stakes in Canadian lithium mining companies and other critical metal sector. In response, the Chinese ministry urged Canada to stop politicizing economic and trade issues and to guarantee a fair and equitable environment for all investors. Beijing also warned that it will take measures to defend the legitimate interests of its companies.
The current global mineral industry and supply chains are a result of both the law of the market and the choices of businessmen. The Canadian side has overstretched the concept of national security and placed arbitrary curbs on normal trade and investment cooperation between China and Canadian companies. This is against the principle of market economy and international economic and trading rules the Canadian side has been talking about. It does no good to the development of the target sectors and hurts the stability of global industrial and supply chain.
We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.